Hey everyone, it's Alex. We have ourselves an absolutely insane OTA that's designed to attack some of the most frustrating cards and decks that are destroying the Marvel Snap meta right now, and you'll be happy to note that Hela is at the top of the list. Hela has had a complete resurgence in the meta, going from basically completely unplayed to a 12% meta share, and it wasn't Hela that got buffed, it was Hellcow, going from a 4/8 that randomly discarded 2 cards from the hand to a 4/6 with the same ability but an activate. That was a very significant difference, which made Hela much more straightforward to play. The result, Hela came back absolutely like crazy and drove everyone crazy too. The thing about it though is that if you look at the stats, it's actually not that impactful. A 52% win rate is not crazy. A cube rate of 0.18, not that impressive, but it's that play rate of 12% and how uninteractive the deck is, which I think frustrated a lot of players. And so it looks like Second Dinner is kind of like responding to the general consensus of players not enjoying the Hela based gameplay and not responding in terms of a statistical standpoint. I don't think they're nerfing Hela because Hela is good. I think they're nerfing Hela because it's good enough and it's annoying enough that it's winning games that players feel like they're losing agency in their games. And so as a result, we do have the change to bring it to a -3 power on each Hela card that's brought back. It's notable that the best Hela decks, even currently prior to the nerf, are running Luke Cage. So you might be asking yourself, is it really that much of a nerf, since Hela itself does get an additional power as a result? I still think it is, because being forced to run Luke Cage is not insignificant, because it essentially changes Hela from just a 1-card play to bring everything back to essentially a 2-card play, where you have to make sure that Luke Cage is either played or discarded in order to at least have a decent chance of winning the game with that Hela comeback, right? So the -3 power is pretty significant. I mean, it's basically what the old school, US Agent used to do. So a major change to Hela. Is it going to take it out of the meta? Possibly. If anything, this nerf might shift people's focus away from it to reduce its meta share, which is probably what Second Dinner is trying to do. This is it's not a full out hardcore nerf. It's a little downwards and sideways, but still a nerf nonetheless. And of course, for Hela gamers out there, the decks already did include Luke Cage, so you're kind of still playing the same list anyways. The next change goes to Marvel Boy, and it is a nerf going from a 3/2 to a 3/1. Straight up power here. It's a Series 5 card that was running nearly a 54% win rate, pretty decent cube rate at 0.15, and a meta share at just under 5%. Now, this deck as a whole, Zoo, has made a massive comeback. Zoo used to be completely unplayable. And then you had Chimera added, but it still couldn't go vertical enough. And then you had Mockingbird, and suddenly, okay, we got something here. Then you got Gilgamesh and Marvel Boy, and the deck is just completely rounded out as a legitimate meta contender. And Marvel Boy was just a little too good. From a pure stats perspective, Marvel Boy was insane, the amount of stats it was putting out, especially if you consider something like a Squirrel Girl into whatever, Dazzler into Marvel Boy. All of a sudden, Marvel Boy's just pewing, and the stats are just flying, right? So, considering the amount of outward pressure that Marvel Boy can apply from a stats perspective, and your ability to win a game with Gilgamesh, or at least a lane with Gilgamesh, Marvel Boy was just a little too good. A little too good for a little too long, and it's getting brought down ever so slightly. I still think it's good. I still think it's fine. I was actually surprised it released as a 3/2. It probably should have been a 3/1 all the time. It should have just released that way. I don't think the change is Marvel Boy. I still think it's good. I don't think the 1 extra power off Marvel Boy makes a difference. It's a legit card. Now, what also still is a legit card is War Machine, going from a 4/7 to a 4/6, pure stat change. What I will tell you is that I was surprised by this change, and I don't necessarily agree with it. The reason why is because I think the major factor here is that with War Machine, people don't like the Storm Legion interaction. And so on the Snapchat, I discussed with Cozy the idea of, instead of changing War Machine or nerfing this, because I don't think it's the power that makes a difference here. Of course, it has an impact, but it's not the main thing. I think that you should have considered moving Legion to a 6 cost, or changing Legion in a way where it had more power, 6 costed, and so as a result, still flipping the locations on turn 6 is a powerful effect. Changing everything to, Bar Sinister or whatever could be very impactful. And so as a result, I was kind of surprised with War Machine in and of itself getting just a power reduction, because the combo still remains. And I don't think that Storm, Legion, War Machine combo, if this 1 power makes a difference, I still think it's going to be very strong. Of course, it's going to take a little bit off the win rate, but that combo still exists, right? And I think that moving Legion to the 6 cost and changing its power output while still having it kind of modify the locations would probably do a better job of kind of nullifying that combo. If they want to keep the combo in the game, they can do exactly this. But I think it's that combo that might be the problem with War Machine, despite the fact that it still has a relatively weak meta share at 6%. That is way higher than the 0 it had prior to the buff. Then we go Symbiote Spidey. I mean, listen, a Season Pass card getting buffed during the Season Pass, not very common that they do this. It's also worth noting that it's happening in essentially the last closing weeks of your opportunity to actually pick up the Season Pass. We got ourselves a new season coming up, right? And so, I mean, I know the the legit critical people that are going, oh, buffing the card just to close out those sales must not sold very good. I will tell you, honestly, I've not been playing much Symbiote Spidey. I did like the card at release, and I think most people did. It surprised me to see a 47% win rate. When I pulled these stats, I was actually kind of shocked that it was running a 47% win rate according to Untapped and a negative cube rate. And so I do think the card is very interesting, a lot of deck building opportunities, very choreographed. Like it sits there and you kind of know what it's going to do, but I still think it's fascinating. I still think it's cool. It is surprising me from a win rate perspective. I think it's way weaker than I had anticipated. But regardless, going from a 4.6 from a 4.7 isn't nothing, especially considering some of the combos that it's being used in. And there's even some more help coming as well. But either way, maybe this isn't the last of Symbiote Spider-Man's buffed. If it's really running a 47% win rate as a Season Pass card, could it go to 4.8? Well, let's see what it does at 4.7 first. And then you got G-Man, which is ironic because G-Man saw some additional play with Symbiote Spider-Man. Now we got a combo, Symbiote Spider-Man Galactus, now 2 power stronger. We have a 45% win rate on Galactus, which I don't think anyone's necessarily complaining about, a negative cube rate, and a pretty low meta share. What's interesting about this is that they clearly took a very cautious approach to Galactus and Symbiote Spider-Man because of the opportunity to combine the two for some bang out combo play. And ultimately, we got ourselves a Galactus that needed a little bit more power. I think Galactus is interesting. I don't mind if it's around the 50% win rate. 45 is probably too low. But I think that a nice surprise Galactus play keeps everyone honest. You know what I mean? I think it's a kind of card that its effect is kind of fantastic, and it's a really fun card. I mean, to play, I suppose. But it has a role to play. That's all I mean. It's a really good card in terms of like flavor for the game. And so to have it at least minor relevance is probably not the worst thing in the world. But do note, it's a buff to this, and it's a buff to Symbiote Spider-Man, which was currently the best Galactus deck. A very significant change. And then we have another card that was seeing some play with Symbiote Spider-Man. Not that much, to be honest with you, but still seeing play. We had Negasonic. A 47% win rate is not quite enough to make this card playable, and it's always been really awkward with earning initiative. You have to have initiative for the effect to work unless you play it early and then you don't catch people by surprise. So ultimately, you got yourself Negasonic from a 3-2 to a 3-3. It's not bad. Does it make it necessarily playable? I don't think so, but it's better. There's no question, right? It's significantly better. A 3-3 stat line, considering its effect, you got it, if you're playing like a Surfer deck or something like that, you gain initiative. This is one of your cards you drop on 5. That's not bad, man. It's kind of crazy. You're trading a location probably with whatever they play out there. Maybe you smoke a Scar or something like that. Who knows, right? So ultimately, it's nice to see Negasonic get some love. This is a card that I think has been languishing for a little too long. Talk about cards that have been languishing. Black Panther was basically invisible in the meta, and then it saw some play back with Symbiote Spider-Man. And I gotta be honest with you, I actually liked the combination. Very interesting to note that Galactus, Symbiote Spider-Man, and Black Panther all had very similar win rates, very similar cube rates, and very similar meta shares. I bring this up because not only are you buffing Symbiote Spider-Man, but you're buffing Black Panther, you're buffing Galactus. So that buff you saw to the Symbiote Spider-Man is going to be applied to all these different shells that were being used. In fact, the best deck for Symbiote Spider-Man included both Galactus and Black Panther with Zola and stuff like that. So you're seeing some very interesting play here, and that entire archetype just got 3 separate buffs to bring it up in line with some of the others. So I do think this is pretty significant. Not only that, because of the fact that Black Panther doubles its power, this feels more like a 2-power buff. And of course, with your Nakias, your Okoyes, your everything else, Symbiote Spider-Mans, Black Panther can put up some serious numbers. And so Black Panther just might make itself a little bit of a comeback. Then we have Kraven. We've got a lot of tools into the recent move meta, and Kraven has been basically just replaced with Madam Web. Madam Web's easier to play, more fun to play, and why wouldn't you play Madam Web when you have a Kraven? I mean, so it's interesting because like the costs make it so that you got to pick one or two. It's kind of awkward to play both, and its cube rate and its win rate's pretty low, but that's pretty consistent across all move decks. They're kind of floundering a little bit, but there's a couple that are performing decently, but as a whole, the individual cards are kind of languishing to some degree. I like this change a lot. And I actually mentioned in the past, I do think they should kind of take another look at move as a whole and determine, okay, do we really want Dagger going up to insane power? Do we need that? Do we really want, you know, a Vulture or a Human Torch getting massive? Do I really need a Human Torch breaking 100 power? Is that how we win the game? Man, I don't think so. Maybe you take those down a little bit so you're a little less vertical, and you add some of the horizontal spread, right? You add some to Kraven, right? Give Kraven a little love. You add some to Hercules. Give Hercules a little love. So this month is kind of interesting in the sense that you added all these tools. You added Aranya, you added Madam Web, and you still have to buff Kraven and Hercules, right? And so it looks like the incredibly powerful effect of Madam Web wasn't enough. The incredibly powerful effect of Aranya was not enough, despite the fact that they did certainly improve the archetype. Now we have 2 individual buffs. Hercules is making those decks, by the way, especially the Tribunal move one. Kraven we're not seeing as much, but it looks like move is taking a little bit of time to kind of get used to being played, and the development team felt like it needed just a little more as we enter the end of this move-centric season. Anyways, guys, let me know your comments down below. Got another video for you on the screen. Hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed already, and smash the like button while you're there too, and we'll see you on that next one.